You're done. Believe me, I've been involved with a guy who's repeatedly told me he's a sociopath. He feels nothing for anyone other than his son and can't ever love again. He may still be married regardless. He randomly left his wife and son and moved 1,000 miles away even though he had a perfectly good job on the West Coast, and she refused to follow him, and they've been apart for years now and hardly ever see each other, so he hardly ever sees his son. But he stayed put even though he could have had his old job back. He tells me he doesn't want commitment but cares about me. But even though he cares, he is incapable of showing it, and that's why his wife abandoned him. I've been trying to show him I accept him as he is and would not abandon him. My hope is that then he'll feel secure enough and want to be with me for real. Any advice on this? He totally just pushes me away, but I genuinely enjoy the sociopathic relationship for whatever reasons. I called him out on only being interested in me for a good time. Examples: want to come over my place late at night but wouldn't dream of bringing me around friends. Keeps me secret from his real life. I still think he's married. I told him he is probably only speaking to me when better bonding isn't available that night. He got all indignant and said there's no one else, and he doesn't plan on sleeping with anyone, but also told me he never said he wanted commitment or to be serious with me, which is true. We've never been BF, GF in all these years, and that he doesn't want that with anyone ever. He's finished with that in his life. Again, I still think he's married, and now won't talk to me at all because he says he's just depressed over ruining his family and missing his kids and wants to be alone. But why is he depressed over missing his kids? He is the one who chose to move to California 3,000 miles away from them and stay there for 5 years so far, even though he could have had a totally similar job where his family lived and did before. Why does he act like his family was so great and he's depressed over being apart when he left? Is this just part of being a sociopath, unable to see why he's wrong? How can I get him to talk to me again? He just accused me of online sleuthing, off his social media, to find other women he's talking to and what they're about. The part that keeps me attached is all he's admitted to me. I think it takes courage and true emotional intimacy to actually tell me he's a sociopath. Left his wife and son with no remorse just to be selfish and chase riches and freedom, and worse, led on an ex to move with him, to the point his wife threw him out. And then he left that ex a second time and destroyed her too. To tell me he wants to be forever alone where he can't be poisonous to anyone else. I felt we were very close because he let me into his disordered thinking. But were we that close when his behavior in person, all of above, was only over text, was cold and detached, consisting of him interrupting me mid-sentence to do a physical favor, and if I tried to kiss him or put an arm around him, he'd literally push me away. It's sociopathic that he doesn't really try to justify bad behavior. It's not like he said he abandoned his wife and kid when his marriage was in a rough patch. He said everything was totally fine with his marriage and both his wife and kid were crying for him not to go. This ex whom he tried to get to move with him instead of his family. He calls her his truest love, so then why the hell does he describe ditching her twice? And then with me, tried to get me to think he likes yet another woman but is actively texting me at same time. So, I'm guessing he will never change, apparently, when he says he will never get divorced regardless. Half a year later, a while ago he moved 3,000 miles from his son and wife, said everything was fine but he left out of selfishness. While they cried for him not to leave, he states he was leading an ex-girlfriend on, telling her to move here with him, then said just kidding, and at some point she tried to kill herself in front of me because I'm so terrible to everyone. But I totally loved her. Now admits that he's never getting divorced but will just do what he wants, but wants no commitment or relationship ever again, but staying married. Says I'm a very close and special friend. Says his wife and him have zero relationship, but he still loves her and maybe she'll come around because he doesn't want to be divorced. And he'll post stuff on his social media account like they're still happily married. But in meantime he's talking about sleeping with me. Almost every convo we have eventually turns to a good time. He calls phone time, fun time, or asks me to do favors but reminds me he doesn't get a good time often. Will stone cold tell me to do favors for him, abruptly in middle of convo, never smiles or kisses me, doesn't say anything sweet. Goes between this and telling me he feels guilty having bonded out of marriage, but even then, he's always texting me even if he's not doing it. Tells me to have zero expectations of him and he's always going to be free, but also married. Yet shames me if I go out with another guy I'm not loyal. Tells me he's a sociopath and cares about no one except his son. Tried to make me think he's into another woman and posted photo of her saying so pretty on a fake account where he knew I knew the username, but no one else in his real life does. So, I got sick of it and sent link to his wife. Then he immediately took it down. Guess he has nothing real with that other woman either. I feel like plenty of people are in open marriages or only together on paper. Then again, given how he freaked out when his wife saw one photo of us together and made me take it down, and hides any trace of me completely, that doesn't seem to be their case. She just said something about how her husband was also playing with me, what's also, when I showed her the dirty garbage messages he sends. However, he himself keeps saying he's never getting divorced and hides everything from public, like wouldn't even go to a party of mutual friend with me, and on his social media just posts his wife and kid and references his family. This was always my pledge, but he insisted he'd divorce her, it was just taking time. Then when he admitted he'll never get divorced because of the kids, not wanting to give her $, and never wanting to get remarried or have another committed relationship anyhow, I assumed I'd change his mind eventually. But if he is a sociopath like he says and has no problem being stone cold, never a warm hug or kiss or barely even a smile at me ever, and leading a double life, claims he cares about me while demanding I delete any photo or comment I make on his social media, because I guess you've never had slept with a married man before, then what am I going to gain? What would any woman have involved with him again? Even this current one that he claimed to me to be spending time with and posted photo of her on his fake account. He was simultaneously asking me for bonding and dirty photos. I'm going to give some superficial facts about myself. I am very successful, in top 1% of earners. Thin, often told I'm very attractive. My exes have been, superficially, excellent catches themselves. And in terms of deeper stuff, I've been told by many who've seen me with my daughter that I'm an awesome mom. I was always caring to this guy until I started feeling used like a toy, but at the same time I wasn't a pushover. I would tell him repeatedly that if he wasn't going to leave his wife or commit to me, then I wasn't going to be used. So why? All along he's pulled back intermittently with bonding, would tell me he felt guilty because he's married, or just that he wanted to be in control, and so I couldn't expect that from him often. But even during all those times he'd text me explicitly and do some phone time. People can be in open marriages, or marriages just for image's sake. Considering he chose to move super far away from his kid and his wife, allegedly, refused to follow, that could be them. But regardless, I guess saying he's never getting divorced and them continuing to act married on social media doesn't make him very available for everything. His wife telling me, "Great, you're getting played too, let me know when y'all are going public," sounds like I don't care because I'm always going to be the wife and you and the others are just a side piece, don't you think? He also pointed out that if he could move so far from his innocent kid with no remorse, then he could do anything selfish to anyone. I thought this person looked amazing on paper, but I actually think he's lowly garbage. Whose line to a woman is, "I'm a sociopath who cared about no one except my kid. I still love my wife and we're never getting divorced, and also please come do favor for me right now. I will never commit to you or anyone again, but you're a B for even seeing another man who might someday." You know what chills me the most? 1. When we first started talking, he quickly and abruptly asked me to come over with the devil emoji. Only when I refused did he start in with this garbage with kiss faces. He just used whatever strategy worked. 2. If he and his wife were truly staying married only on paper, then why post photos with their kid calling her beautiful recently on social media, while sleeping with me and apparently flirting with other women at the same time? Doesn't that right there define him as cheating scum? I refused his advances for months, told him he should be separated first. From the first time he made a move it was confusing because his texts had been all sweet with kiss face, but when he made a move, he just grabbed me with a blank psycho look on his face, and when I said I wasn't comfortable going all the way he pushed and then told me the next day that we should have slept together. Is that normal? So, does he not really care about this other woman? He recently did tell me he doesn't care about her, doesn't care about anyone, and I should know that since he's a sociopath. Come to think of it, he loves to brag about the situation where his wife was crying for him not to move far away, but he temporarily led his ex to believe he wanted her to move with him instead. Then he says he sat the two women down together and told them, "Sorry, what do you want? I love you both." Isn't telling me that's sick and indicative of triangulation? Who does that? It will just help me enormously to understand that he is a psycho who won't be treating this other woman or the wife he still has and is never leaving any better. Maybe he just tells me he's a sociopath and acts cold and unfeeling, literally just staring at me and not kissing during bonding, to try to get me to walk away. But why am I not good enough to be treated better like the other women in his life? I was always there for him, always showed interest, but it's hard to be too emotionally connected when the other person always just stares back like a wall. He may treat his wife like garbage, as evidenced by actively texting with me while with her, but at least he sees her and their son is worth posting on his social media once in a while. He even posted this other chick on his fake social media not connected with his name. With me it was always hide, even though I'm telling you I'm honestly very upstanding, professionally successful, and attractive. What was it about me that he would text me sweetly, then every time he saw in person stare with me with cold eyes and start bonding totally detached? I tried to put my arm around him and every time he'd shove it off and it hurt, but he kept texting and wanted to see me, so I figured just an emotional issue. Well, maybe his marriage really is just for show at this point after he ruined it. He says never getting divorced, but they're staying together for the kids, so he doesn't have to give her his money, etc. For a while I thought he was leading me to believe they have a very bad marriage, so I'd be okay sleeping with him, but now I'm not so sure. When I messaged her sending screenshots of dirty convos I had with him, she was just like, "Okay, I'm fine, you should worry about yourself as you've been used also," and then was like, "Let me know when you guys are public, official, thanks, bye." Only seemed mildly interested when I said he was involving their son in cheating with the sent the message where he said he was bringing him to that party in Long Beach. Why would she react like this? It almost seems like she gave up on him because he's garbage, but also is cocky knowing he'll never actually leave her and go public with someone else. I'm just looking for answers as I've spent years of my life loving him and can't really process what to do next if I don't have the slightest understanding of what just happened. What I do know is, 1. People who know him said he's just playing both me and his wife. 2. He refused to ever be seen with me around people who knew him in real life, even at a mutual friend's party, but was quick to text me right after to smooth things over after I came over for bonding, which makes me think he didn't want to blow his cover. 3. He was posting about his lovely wife on social media at exact same time of sleeping with me recently. 4. His wife didn't seem to be surprised when I sent her our messages. 5. He lost his mind when I had one photo of us together up on my social media. Said that would ruin his family. Excuse me, your decision to sleep with me wasn't it? 6. Deletes casual comments from his insinuating that he and I have ever even hung out or know each other. Once he responded to my post supporting him for something by telling me thank you. Right now I'm at a key investment banking networking event acting like I didn't even know where he was. He would do nothing for me, 0, not even clear his own plate and carry to sink after I made food for us and was trying to juggle carrying my own plate and baby daughter. And he just plain wasn't around for everyday life. We'd go to each other's places or out to restaurants, but he was never ever there to wake up in the morning and make me coffee, stop at store, or celebrate my daughter's b-day or help me get ready for party. He said he avoided my family and friends because he didn't want to have to answer questions about what he was doing here far away from his family. That was a real flag to me. My daughter, she's not a baby anymore. Look, it's because he would text me something nice about wanting to spend time with her, but then the second I saw him in person it was cold as ice. Ignoring her then once she was put to bed, interrupting me mid-sentence, while sitting on couch coldly on opposite end, to say why don't you give me a X now? This makes me unable to take seriously that he's committed to his wife, whom he claims he still loves and is never divorcing. At the very same time he claims to be interested in yet another woman. Do you really think this person is capable of any good relationship? Doesn't he seem a psychopath like he was telling me? He would text nice things about her, just act off, cold, detached in person. But it's not like he was mean to her, just ignored her. I don't think he can help his disordered interaction style. I've never experienced a person who doesn't kiss or cuddle you and just stares right through you and suddenly tells you to do something for him physically. Why do I deserve that and the multiple other women in his life don't? I'm telling you I am a warm, attractive, successful, intelligent woman by all accounts. Remember his wife got all mad when I posted a photo of he and I online. And he told me he wouldn't be allowed to see his son because of it if they were actually separated. Then why would that be? I really don't think they're ever getting divorced as 1. He told me they never are. 2. He clearly posted about his lovely family using photos of her even while sleeping with me. 3. When I messaged his wife, she sounded smug like good for you, let me know when it's official. He's just playing you too but didn't say anything like doesn't matter, we aren't together any longer. If his wife really didn't care, then why would he have to hide me to the world? It seems his wife is, if she didn't react angrily or tell me they were getting divorced when I messaged her, and per his claims this is too. Now from the looks of it she blocked and defriended him on social media, so maybe he's fabricating all this to make me upset too. But why? Why wasn't I good enough for him to just be with me? Or his wife? He would always call his wife a really good woman and says he was the one who ruined it, but why? Why not just love and be happy? He always makes comments about how he wants to be free and alone where he can't hurt anyone else. Oddly, I trust him because he's been so forthcoming about saying bad things to me like that he's a sociopath, doesn't care about anyone, is never leaving his wife, is selfish and ruined his marriage but will never leave it or get another family, etc. I just thought if I were patient eventually, he'd leave his wife and change all that. But now he devolved into someone who only talks about sleeping with me, and he got all mad that I sent his wife messages between us and also ones with him claiming he was bringing their son around the O. I don't think I'm extraordinarily attractive, but a lot of people have said so. I just wonder if he really was a good guy whose marriage was emotionally over but he has to stay in it for the kids, public appearances, his family's approval, and as he said never getting divorced, but he wanted to commit to me as much as he could but I just wasn't good enough. And maybe if I were worth it, he would have left his marriage after all. I did see some other men but I told him if he isn't even going to leave his wife or give me any commitment then aren't I stupid not to do so. The reason I think he's good is that he was honest, told me he would never commit to anyone as a partner or relationship again, but that he cared about me. And spending so much time with me, seeing me and talking to me, how could he not really care? Although almost every single phone convo ever ended in phone time, and he'd ask where I was and if I wasn't alone at home, he'd tell me to call him once I was. You don't think he's actually a decent guy and just treated me like a toy because I'm not good enough? I really honestly have been told a lot that I'm attractive and I'm very successful and high earning or whatever superficial stuff, and have been told I'm an awesome mom to my daughter. I tried my best to be good to him, but when he stayed married and continually told me he didn't want commitment, I did see other people and admitted that when he asked. He acted like I'd done something wrong even though he was the one married, saying he'll never get divorced and doesn't ever want another relationship. Almost every single time we got together there was bonding, and he was never helping with my daughter or around the house, staying the night, getting me coffee in morning. Never once held my hand or put his arm around me. But it just chills me that someone who's so honest about their bad side, even calling themselves a sociopath, must have felt very close to me. But when he wasn't leaving his wife and never discussed commitment to me, I felt I was a fool to see no other men. Why did he decide to tell me there was some other woman he's been friends with a long time whom he doesn't want for sleeping together but just thinks is so lovely and wants her? He got me really upset, said they'd agreed not to hang out with other girls until they could get together in person again. But at the same time kept seeing me both in public and for bonding and texted me all the time. So how special could she be? Would keep claiming he was bringing his son to a party with her because she already knew son from being a babysitter for him and his wife. But in the same convo would try to make plans with me for bonding, ask me for dirty photos and say he'll see me again soon. Also, why would he even tell me? Sick satisfaction, game playing rather than being honest. His inconsistencies leave me totally baffled. He'll tell me he doesn't want me and no longer wishes to sleep with me or anyone because he wants to be free of its clutches or something. Then in the very same convo will start texting and asking me for dirty photos. Isn't everyone just a side piece to him? After all, he was texting me and asking when we could meet again simultaneously while allegedly hanging out with this other woman who lives back near his wife and kid. And if he's never getting divorced, then we are all side pieces by definition. His wife doesn't seem to want anything to do with him, just reacted to my message like, okay, you're being played too, let me know when something is made public. So how much could he really love her or be good to her? She didn't at all seem surprised by my MSG, and according to him she's previously thrown him out for planning to bring an ex-GF here then going back last minute. The only thing giving me any clarity is that he directly contradicts himself firsthand to me, tells me in the same conversation that he doesn't want me physically and doesn't need bonding, then starts texting me and asking when we can sleep together. Tells me he still loves his wife at the same time we are physically involved. Tells me he and Samo have agreed not to see people of opposite gender until they can meet again, but then not only sees me but also sleep with me. When he refused to go to a party with me, one of the bosses at our old financial firm, I got upset about being hidden, and his response was like, I can't ever have a serious relationship. I'm married, then was all kiss emojis and oh I should be making you happy, and next thing I knew I was over his place for a good time. Or the time he gaslighted me, I said, oh you're going away for V-Day weekend with a friend, I thought we could celebrate. And he was like, I told you we could only have something casual and not a serious relationship, and you said that was fine. But in between, lots of comments about how I was much more than a friend and special to him. Over text. In person he was always cold and the bonding was cold, and he wouldn't so much as hold my hand. We went on a trip together and he stayed as far away from me in bed as possible and pushed me away, yet could sleep with me repeatedly just fine. What was that? He said he had memories of his wife and felt guilty and that's why he couldn't. And I guess he is staying married. But she doesn't seem to want much to do with him given her messages to me and reference multiple women being played by him, so what the hell? I want it to be more than just a toy. In fact, there were months where he said we could only ever be friends and he stopped sleeping with me and would see me frequently just to spend time. But he was his usual cold and detached. It wasn't like, we aren't sleeping together but I'm still going to be romantic or warm toward you, which he actually never was. Then suddenly one day he texted me for bonding as a friend. I said I wanted to share that with someone who could give me more, and he was just like, well then that's your choice. We slept together again though. One day I noticed that random girl was liking all his social media and asked about her. He said just a friend, but I persisted. Then he had some story about how he liked her romantically. Then he later told me he made it up but was just looking for a way to get me to move on. Expect nothing from him. Incidentally, it looked like she then blocked him from social media. Later on, he told me they were back in contact. It seemed, as a direct reaction to me saying I'd been seeing other men. He was angry even though I said, you told me a million times we'd only be friends and to move on. Posted some photos of her on his fake social media, fake name, no one from his real life follows him on it. Then when I reshared the post where people he might know in real life could see it, he took it down. So, I highly doubt there's anything real with her. I was married myself and looked great on paper, but it always felt super empty. Terrible bonding. He had no confidence, self-proclaimed workaholic 24/7. When he wasn't coming up with new projects, he was talking to me about them, and said his favorite activity to do with me was us working on work side by side. I need chemistry and a challenge, but this new guy feels toxic, so unpredictable and awful. Some days feels guilty about bonding because married, but says he wants to spend time with me, but he's so cold, detached, and absent once actually together. Other days interrupting me mid-sentence to literally tell me to X him. It's like a lot of steps too far. People who know me well in real life say I could have basically anyone, but I've never tried for anything where I have both attraction and a healthy dynamic. I just think if it seems healthy, I won't want it. And not my dad isn't a bad dad or husband whatsoever. Exact opposite. Maybe I should look at cold hard facts, not what he says in text messages. From the start, he was detached with bonding. No hand holding or arm around me. Would actively push mine away. Barely kissed me. Would never stay the night. Social media occasionally posted photos of his wife and son. Hid me, and I noticed at one point she'd removed and blocked him. Hid me in real life, to the point he wouldn't ride directly from work to a coworker's party with me when we were leaving work at same time. When I expressed I was offended, his response was a random "well, I'm never going to be able to have a relationship because I need to visit my son with all my time off." Then within 2 hours I was at his place sleeping together. Despite words telling me just wished to spend time with me and my daughter, the end result would be him not even acknowledging her presence. And then she goes to sleep. He sits far away from me on couch, then suddenly asks me to do a favor for him, interrupting me when I'm mid-sentence. Then leaves. The whole time, I always felt there was this huge strange disconnect between what he said in text and how he acted in person. Example, after a year of him showing no signs of him leaving his wife, he said we should get together and have a discussion and work everything out. In person I reference this and he says, "Discuss what?" When I was upset, he said flatly, "But you're still going to sleep with me, right?" Then would go months of time not sleeping with me because he felt guilty. So then why not leave your wife? Such a mind twist. It takes a lot to make me feel attached or connected to someone. I just feel bored, not impressed, like I'm just sitting there slowly dying. So, when I find that rare person, I'm willing to put up with bad treatment, as I think that's what actually generates the highs and lows I crave so much. If someone is nice and emotionally available, then I equate that with being needy and say they're with me just so they can have someone and I'm not really special to them. And then I don't find them the least bit attractive and don't want them in my space. Even when he was trying to hook me, he'd always insist I'm never going to commit or be available for a relationship with anyone else. I will always have limits. I guess that was code for never getting divorced, only looking for a mistress. So, what about this new where he'd tell me he really liked her, then later say he exaggerated them being old friends just to make a point to me not to expect anything from him? Really, do none of us have any chance? I would admit to him I was seeing other guys after he told me repeatedly he didn't want a relationship, and worse yet, was still married. The result was that he'd get upset and it'd generate highly physically charged conversation. But then he'd make me feel badly, calling me disloyal, and it made no sense since I reminded him he was the one who didn't want to step up and commit, meet my family or friends, etc. What I really want is to feel passionately about him but be able to be public. But after being led on and told he's divorcing, all of a sudden, I got told he'd never be more than a friend and he felt guilty about bonding. Cake eating. His response was, "Well, my wife and I have no romantic or physical relationship." But I said, "If you aren't committing to me, calling me your GF, and are married, then aren't I stupid to not see other people?" While it mostly seemed he was just out for bonding. How else do you interpret someone walking in and talking to you for maybe 10 minutes, telling you to hook up with them, then leaving and not staying the night and barely kissing or being at all romantic? The confusion comes from how his texts would be different. But even then, he might say I was beautiful but would always slip in things like I'll never be able to be in a real relationship with anyone because there will always be limits. I guess that is being married and always having to hide any other woman from public view. I got most confused when he'd withdraw bonding and say he felt guilty. Because then if he continued to spend time with me, then it must be about more than just bonding. But does it really matter if he will never give me a real relationship? And he'd have all these sudden breakthrough bursts where he'd be very dirty and ask me about having no strings attached bonding. So, what does that say about his character if he could flip back and forth so impulsively? Probably that he'd cheat on me. My comment: if OP is not a troll, then OP just loves this dirty relationship and being a O. But she's angry that she's just a side piece, not the owner. What would you do if you have a friend like this? What would you tell them? Comment down below, check out the other recent uploads, and subscribe if you haven't.